All right, we want to welcome everybody to the Black Family Talk. My name is Hamid.
And I'm Brother Eugene.
And I'm Jenny Calhoun.
So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we are going to go to part two of the conversation that we had on Tuesday. Quite a few people got an opportunity to look at it, but we are still talking about, are our women safe? And so we're going to have some guests in with us tonight, and then we're going to just mix it up. So with us tonight, as our guest, we have Mr. J.C. Shegard. And Mr. Shegard, he's, of course, very well known in the community, especially when it comes to safety and so many other things. And I don't want to jumble up his resume, so I'll let him kind of go over what he does. And then we also have another sister in the house with us tonight. She may be coming on with the Sister Eve. So, Brother JC, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good evening, brother. I want to thank you all for inviting me to the show. My name is J.C. Shegard. I am a risk manager as well as a security consultant. I also travel internationally, training military and police of the NATO allies. And locally, I do speaking engagements, self-defense seminars that benefit women, children, home defense, and personal defense.
All right. Well, you are a great brother to be in the building with us. And we love the fact that you actually are a part of what we're doing. And let's try to figure out how we can approach this new idea, because it seems to be foreign to some of the men that, are amongst some of us, being willing to protect their women.
Right.
And understanding the value of our women, and to understand that they're not to be taken for granted or mistreated. And, it just takes us to really touch on it, because it's just something most people like to sweep up under the rug. They've been allowing a lot of things to go on, because I've heard someone say that it's crazy to see that some people make it a safe environment for predators.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow.
Right.
That's crazy, but it's true.
That's right.
So, when it comes to this subject, Miss Jenny, what is your take on it?
It's such a broad topic when you say stuff like, are women safe? Because are any of us safe? Women, men? But so I think it said, are we keeping them safe in our village, in our community settings? And right now, it's really hard to tell, to be honest with you all. Amongst the people that are close to me in my village, I feel safe. I feel protected. I feel respected. I feel honored. But when I look at the world abroad, a larger scale, it just doesn't seem that way, because I see a lot of young women who have been molested, raped, beaten, mentally abused, physically abused, emotionally abused, and nothing happens. And then actually something happens, and they're blamed and ostracized by their own community. And it's like, kind of, I'm danged if I do, I'm danged if I don't. Where can I go to be protected and safe, like I thought I was supposed to be? So I don't think so.
And that's a bad way for our women to feel. And it comes from a long stream of things, But what Mr. I'm gonna get to you now. So, what is the first thing you believe that the conversation needs to be when it comes to men speaking with men? Where do we start with trying to change the way that we perceive our women to understand where we need to be?
Well, first, we need to recognize the fact that there is a problem. We do have a problem, and with this problem, there are solutions.
Mm-hmm.
But with every problem, there's the origin. Where did this problem start? In my opinion, from looking at things from a broad sense, there's this thing back in the 1700s called meritorious manumissions. And for those that's not familiar with that, it was a legal act back in the 1700s of freeing enslaved Africans for good deeds as defined by the public policy. And it's basically 4 good deeds. One is to save a life of a slave owner, to save the property of the slave owner. Second, third, to invent something that will make the slave owner more money. 4, to inform the slave owner of any slaves that were planning or had already ran away or was trying to revolt. So with this, it formed the culture of materialism. Okay, and that is what we're battling right now. We're battling a culture of materialism, and this the meritorious manumissions. It later became the defining character of what we call a house Negro. We call it cooning now. Okay, but meanwhile in the field we had this thing called a village concept, and the village concept was many things to many people, but it also included limited protection of each other from the house Negroes' meritorious manumission concepts, because we really couldn't protect ourselves from the slave owner to a degree where it would cost one of us our lives.
And do you think that some of our men still feel that way?
Well, I feel that our men have, well, our community has adopted a materialistic mindset.
Right.
Anything for money. Cream, cash runs everything around me. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Same coin, different side. They have also adopted radical individualism. I don't need nobody. It's just me. It's me by myself and my kids. I don't need nobody. I could do bad by myself.
Right.
Well, guess what? In a society, there is no individualism. You're going to need someone for something. Your car break down, you know how to fix your car? Somebody need to come and fix it. Your heater break down, somebody need to fix it. You don't know how to do your own hair, somebody need to do it. So you cannot practice the individualism in a society. You can go into the woods and practice that,
right,
but you can't practice it here successfully. And so when you get materialism and the individualism married up, this is what we have. None of us have a standard approach. Whatever happened to common courtesy? We rarely use that. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Thank you. Please. That's a going the way of the dodo, these days. So we have, like they say, we have furnished an area comfortable for not just those other negatives, which we were speaking of, but other things that creep in and be comfortable,
Make it normal.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me ask you something. So because of this, is that why people excuse stars for doing things like heinous acts against children? Because they're wealthy, they have received some sort of black absolution. And so they can't be held liable for the wrongs that they've committed because you're rich. Because I am running, and I literally had this conversation with a brother earlier today. It was like, R. Kelly is a musical genius. He has created so many original works that have shaped our society. There's no way that I would stop supporting him no matter what he does. And I'm like, wow, that's so crazy. And I didn't know where that mindset stemmed from, but that makes perfect sense. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It from looking at it, and in other countries, when you have the kings and prince and princesses and all of these royalties doing these crazy things, but yet the subjects excuse them because they're held. They put on a pedestal.
Right.
Okay.
That's idol worship, right?
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, wow.
That's exactly what it is.
Idol worship.
Yeah. And we have we have replaced the standards in which we stood on with maybe they'll bless me with a piece of that, with some of that,
Oh, right.
you know. And it's basically the replacement of character and integrity for things and stuff.
You know, we want to put the number out. Feel free to call us. We have Brother J.C. Shigog in the house with us this evening. We want to put the number out because things are happening. Things are happening in our communities and they're happening in our overall society. And it's good for us to just kind of talk about this, let people know where we stand, and try to get this thing solved. So call us at 615-227-1470 or call us at 615-737-9865.
We when I called in the other night and I kept hearing the brothers blame the sisters and then the sisters blame the brothers. And you know what that is? That's a
Division,
act of division, of disunity.
Right.
On the brother side, we've been taught to pacify our warrior side or reapply it to sports or only cultivate it when we're defending the American dream. But we've adopted the American dream and we have put up for adoption the African reality.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And
with that so much.
Exactly.
That
So
was so real.
when we dare to apply our warrior side to anything within our society, other than the entertainment or the edification of the American dream, we locked up and we killed. This has persuaded the males in our community from becoming actual men. And now we have adult age, the adolescent males, more so than grown men. And contrary to popular belief, just because you got money and cars and homes don't make you no grown man.
You better
By
say it.
definition.
Come on.
So because they still have the mindset
Of a child.
of a young boy, a little child.
Right. They wants toys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shiny things.
Now,
Instant gratification.
like you know me, I like to hit both sides. A lot of the females, because of the absence, you know, of men.
Right.
There's plenty of males to go around, but the absence of men in the village, the women have to do it all by themselves, and some of them have become bitter and resentful
Right.
because you haven't been standing up, knowing you should be standing up.
Right.
And then, you know, repetition brings about habit, correct? So once they get into the habit of being their own lead and doing their own thing and making their own decisions in reference to previously making joint decisions, now they're forced a habit. So now they got their chest stuck out too.
Right.
You know, I don't need you, you know, get
Right.
somewhere. But when a man appears, they don't know how to deal with him.
Right.
They don't know how to deal with
Totally
him.
different ball.
And I call it the drowning victim theory. Those who have ever been a lifeguard or a rescue swimmer, they know that the first thing you do when you come upon a drowning victim, whether they're in a pond, a river, a lake, the sea, the ocean, you want to communicate with them. Hey, I'm here to help. Calm down. I got you. So you want to establish communication, then you want to give them some instruction. Well, guess what? Some of the women ain't hearing you, and they ain't trying to do nothing you say because your presence haven't been there.
Right.
And can you blame her?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
But you see her drowning. So you still, hey, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. All right. Now, the instructions is okay. Get them to calm down. De-escalate the situation. A lot of brothers don't know how to do that.
Right.
All right.
It takes patience.
It takes patience. It takes learning.
Right.
Okay. And patience. So you see her drown and you try to help her out. She's fighting. Why? Because she's used to doing it by herself. Right? Now, the teachers in this environment say, hey, you can do one or two things. You can let her drown, swim away, save yourself. Because if you grab hold of her,
She gonna pull you down.
she gonna pull you down too.
Mhm.
And that's what's been going on.
Mm.
Now, the other option is to subdue her
Mhm.
and save her from herself. And again, they're not learning how to do this
Mhm.
because they've been absent in man class.
Mm.
Mm. You have broken it all the way down, and I love that because just to take responsibility for what the females bring to the table as much as I can as one woman, but I see so many sisters that INDEPENDENT, do you know, having that mentality, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not independent. I'm interdependent, meaning that I can function by myself, but I
Right.
work best with a team.
Exactly.
And you have to know that.
Exactly.
But I think what happens by the grace of God, I did have a father in my life and men in my life, so I saw how that role is supposed to work in connection with each other. And even though my mother and father worked together, when they dealt with major crises in our lives, they came together as one unit.
Mhm.
So that gave me the opportunity to be able to see how those two energies work together. And for what I'm noticing is that for my sisters who did not have that male presence
Mhm.
in the house, or even a dominant male in the family, is they only know how to be independent. And so when a man does come and he comes in to help and to love and to support, the first thing that they do is they fight, or they try and it's almost like this dominance dance that is done. So I've seen that as well. So I'm glad that you spoke to that.
Mhm. Well, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, you know, I always tell them a couple of the lectures I've previously done in 2018. You cannot be independent in a dependent environment.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All you're doing is practicing being by yourself. Because eventually that's what's going to happen again. You're going to meet somebody. Well, I'm strong. I'm independent. I don't need nobody. Okay, bye. Because it's too much effort. It's too much energy to try to break through that. If you are wanting in any shape, form, or fashion to be in a relationship, you have to practice dependence to a degree, right? You have to recognize when and when not to a degree, okay? It's like you can't show up for the game and you ain't been to practice.
Right. Right.
That has to be a practice in there. You have had to practice it at home, in your lifestyle, some way, okay? You just can't be radically independent and then get married and think you're going to stay married.
Well, you know, they say the imagination is stronger than reality.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people live in their imagination.
A lot.
And when you speak reality to them, sometimes it's hard to internalize. It's not what they're used. They're used to thinking Santa Claus came to their children, or other lies that we've had to carry in our upbringing.
Exactly.
So you know, it's amazing how that works.
So the question for me is now, what's next? Because that's everything. People are looking for
an answer.
And so we've seen what's been happening for the past week with all of the divisiveness. How you said last week, the men and women were. What's next? How do we get over this hump? What would you say is next, Brother Jason?
Well, it's like a healing process. The first thing we have to do is admit there's a problem.
There we go. Bam.
Once we admit there's a problem, then we can approach the problem. Upon approaching the problem, we have to be able to what? Embrace the fact that, okay, all right, I had a play in this, I had a part in this. Okay. Now, the solution from there is after we recognize this, there is a problem, we have to say, I'm going to be patient with you. I want you to be patient with me. Let's replace this old behavior with new norms, with new behavior that's going to be a catalyst to our successful union as a community and as a couple. You know, the blueprint has already been set by the ancestors.
Right.
All we have to do is adhere to it, agree to adhere to it.
And actually, some of us haven't really had a chance to hear the words of the ancestors.
This is true.
So that's where a lot of our detachment has came from, because we've been listening to the serpent out the tree.
Right.
That's telling us that we could be something that we're not.
Exactly.
So that's a lot of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take us to actually make the truth a norm,
Mm-hmm.
opposed to still trying to play out this American dream.
Right.
Because you have to be asleep
That's right.
to believe in the American dream.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
I love how you said that you have got to admit that there's a problem. And I think that is where a lot of the divisiveness is coming from, is that no one is wanting to admit that there is a problem. And to be honest with you, I don't think that it is. This divisiveness over the last week is something that was harmful to the body as a whole. I think it was necessary, because when there is dis-ease in the body, then it is our job as a community to come together and to heal that.
Right.
And in order for us to know what the problem is, it has to be illuminated. We have to give light to the situation, and we have to have those uncomfortable conversations. But in having those conversations, we need to be mindful of the things that we say and how the world is viewing us, because we're under a microscope right now, whether we know it or not. We always are when there's children around.
That's right.
Children will put us there. We are under super microscope, and so they're watching how we're handling this situation.
That's right.
And so when there are adults having conversation saying that it's okay for us to accept pedophilia because someone is a superstar,
Program.
then
wealthy.
wealthy, then that teaches our children that their innocence and virtue is up for sale to the highest bidder.
Exactly.
And that is a problem. So
That is
we
a huge
needed
problem.
to have this conversation, because I don't know about you all, but everybody with curly hair and black skin isn't my brother or my sister.
That's right.
Everybody does not belong to my village and my tribe.
That's right.
My tribe and my village people, they have integrity.
Mhm.
They operate on a certain frequency. And so I think it is now the time for us to have a clear line of demarcation between what is righteous and what is unrighteous,
That's right.
what is just and what is unjust.
That's right.
And so I this divisiveness, to me, I'm like, it's necessary. It is a necessary evil in order for us to be able to break it down like this, and for us to know what the root of the problem is, so that we can then go in and begin to dissect and uproot that.
One of the issues that we are going to face, that we have been hesitating, is that we're going to have to clean in-house. There's going to be a harsh in-house cleansing in order for us to move in the proper direction. And a lot of people are not going to want to leave their relatives and friends behind.
But it's necessary.
But it's necessary. You cannot have a wound exposed to dirt and infection if you want it to heal. You're going to have to rid it of that in order to make the environment where it could heal properly.
Harmonious, absolutely.
You know, you're saying that, I kind of think about the story of, I want to say it was Lot, how he had to get out, he had to leave the place, leave the city. But sometimes you have people and they want to look back. They want to look back and go back into that old way of thinking. And sometimes you have to leave those people. They can't come with you, because, like you say, this is a time where we're doing a cleansing. So you can't bring that dirty behavior here anymore.
Right.
And it's been happening for a long time. And I was talking to one friend. I was talking actually to my sister Jenny here, but we were talking about basically it don't need to just stop with one person. And my opinion on this is we need to look at people when it happens. We need to address it.
That's right.
Address it and be forceful, be stern with it.
Right.
Because once you can say, well, R. Kelly, and then it happened in your circle
Mhm.
and you walk away,
Mhm.
then all that talk was for nothing.
That's right.
So when it happens, we have to address it when we see it.
Immediately. That's right.
Immediately.
That's
And
right.
it's so important to how the children of the future are going to handle issues like this. Because if we can nip this in the bud right now, then they won't have to worry about it.
That's right.
Because they're going to grow up in an environment where it's okay for them to run around the neighborhood and to play, and they can feel safe and feel supported by the community, and they know that the brothers are there to protect them and that they're supposed to respect them, and that teaches them how to then respect themselves.
That's right.
And so this is something that's going to help all of us all around the board. I told, while we were on the phone, I told Brother Hamed, I said, Brother Hamed, the reason why it's happening now, I said, it's the millennials. I said, we are a whole different breed. I tell my grandmother all the time, we frontline soldiers. We came to be rebel rousers, to shake things up. You all had to not say anything, to sweep it under the rug. What happens in the house stays in the house. And we're like, wait a minute. This is not right, and this cannot continue. So I am super glad that this is happening right now. So I know that when I leave here, it's not going to continue.
That's right.
One thing about nature, if you leave it alone, it will take its place back. It will heal itself. No matter how many times they cut the grass, you leave it alone, it grows right back up. And that's just what's happening with us. We're actually having an opportunity to get that sunlight we needed to help us grow through this concrete that's been set on us. Because, you know, there are blades of grass that make it through that concrete.
That's right.
So, you know, it's a lot to deal with. But we have to deal with it.
But we've been through a lot. And we've gotten through it. So this isn't something that we cannot overcome, and we cannot survive, and we cannot heal from. So it's one of those things that if we want to be a better us, you know, we don't just have to dress the part. We have to go underneath, and we got to clean that up too. You know, I always tell people you could put a turd in the tux, but at the end of the day, he's still a piece of dirt. Need to be able to stop.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Let's stop dressing it up. Let's stop accepting things. Let's stop putting our foot down and having standards. And let's stick to these standards. Okay? And the way we stick to the standards is discipline. And the majority of us is lacking discipline. We didn't like being disciplined as a child, and guess what?
Right.
We're not disciplining our child. Or we're not sticking to the discipline. We'll yell. We'll fuss. You know, we'll put them on punishment, but we'll take them right back off because it's inconvenient for us. You know, when I was growing up, they said when you become a father, when you put your kids on punishment, you on punishment too, because you got to make sure it's carried out and they learned
the lesson.
Right.
And there's no lesson being learned.
And so you have a lot of adults that are children.
That's right.
And teaching children to stay children.
To stay children, and it's just a perpetual cycle.
A perpetual cycle.
But once again, how do we fix that?
I think he's given us the blueprint is to start creating that village and to call it out. He's given us the solution right now today. And so what we're doing, this talking about the R. Kellys and all the people of the world, that's part of the process.
Right.
It's painful part.
Right.
It's yucky and mucky,
Right.
but it's part of the process. And now we know that when we place people who are wealthy in positions of power and we place them on a pedestal, that's idol worship. So we have the rule. The plan has been in place since the beginning of time. We have just got to get back to the blueprint.
Get back to implementing.
Exactly.
So we want to see what the people have to say about this, because maybe there's a comment out there that's waiting for us to hear that they hadn't had the opportunity to share with us. So the number here is 615-227-1470, or you can reach us at 615-737-9865.
Awesome. So, Brother Shigog, let me ask you something. So, I don't know if you know this, but are there different things that we can look at, like a family could look at? Let's say they a single mother introduces a new man into her family, and she has a son and a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Are there some things that she should be looking for that would alert her to maybe something going on in her household? Are there different signs and symbols that she can pay attention to?
Effective communication is one. Depending on her purpose for seeing him,
Mm-hmm.
if it is to form a meaningful relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and she asks, "Hey, what's your purpose of me? You know, are we just having fun? Are we going somewhere with this? And don't just say somewhere. Are we going to a meaningful relationship? Is this going to eventually evolve into a marriage situation? You know, and be honest. And then he may just tell her what she want to hear at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But actions speak louder than words.
Absolutely.
And we cannot let the actions be clouded by ching ching.
Okay.
You know, if he pay a bill or two, but he only coming over late at night,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which is more valuable, you know, your purpose or his payments, you know. So that right there is one of the first things. The second thing is, once she start allowing him to maneuver in and out, there needs to be, again, a standard.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know, this is, you know, until we combine household, this is how I need things done. We'll slowly do the introductions, but this is how we're going to do it. If he fight, he's not the guy for you.
Mm-hmm.
If he compromises, they say, well, you know, maybe we could do it like this, maybe we do it like that. And if it's as close to your goals as you want, and there's room to compromise without compromising safety, you can do that. As far as checking on that guy, you know, you can always tell a person's character by the way he treat the people that's already around him,
Mm-hmm.
and the people around him treat him.
Mm-hmm.
If he's a loner, if he's by himself, they tend to have something to hide. Now, mind you, I'm a loner.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm hiding is that my warrior side. I'm taking back control of my warrior side. You know, before I kind of had a loose leash. You know what I'm saying? So my patience with knuckleheads wasn't all that good, but I'm better
Getting
now.
better.
That's beautiful.
You know, and I explain it. You know, when
Right.
when I was, you know, out there dating, I would explain it. You know, and some of them get it, some of them don't. I don't expect all of them to get it. You know.
But you can also do background checks on people. You know, I just found out recently you can go on the court website and you can punch somebody's name in and you can see what previous charges that they've had.
That's right.
At least in the city that you city and state that you live in. So I think it's important for us to use these free tools
Right.
that are out there for us to be able. And then there's the offender registry
That's
that
right.
you can look up and you can see what, you know, if that person is listed. So I think that we need to do some due diligence
That's right.
before we start integrating these men and even these women
Mm-hmm.
into our households.
That's right.
Because you never know. A lot of times these people are repeat offenders.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something comes up from somewhere. And even if it wasn't reported, there are other people in the family. And I've been looking, I'm like, you can tell in a family dynamic when something is off kilter.
That's right.
When Uncle Ray, don't nobody really leave their kids with Uncle Ray.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can tell when there's something quite off kilter about a situation. And those are instances for me when I start asking questions.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't just ask questions of my partner, but I ask questions of everyone in the family, and not in an intimidating way,
Mm-hmm.
but just in a quest to get to know how the family is functioning a little bit better. So I know, is this something that I want to introduce my children to?
Right. Exactly. You won't know unless you ask.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and if they take it the wrong way, hey, I'm sorry you took it that way, but I still need the answer.
Hello.
Right.
You know?
Check yes or check no.
Right. You know, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm a big proponent of action speak louder than words. You know, there's a saying in law enforcement: a good investigator never asks a question he don't already know the answer to.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are exercising or utilizing those the information sites, you know, to gather that information. If it's serious enough, you know, they got free sites, but they got paid sites too.
They do.
Right.
And you can go and you gather that person information and find out that ain't even who that person is.
Mm-hmm.
When you confront that person, your end result is to let that person go. So whether you want to give that person a platform to explain, that's up on this. You know,
up to you.
That's up to you. But
Mm-hmm.
if I find out you're not who you say you are,
your mask come off.
right?
Uh-huh.
Don't call me.
Mm-hmm.
When you recite the alphabet, skip the letters J and C because I want my name coming out there.
But you know what? That is so important because a lot of us get the information
Mm-hmm.
and then out of, I don't know if it's fear or
Mhm.
desperation,
Mm-hmm.
we still allow these people to be in our child's life because we don't want to be by ourselves,
Right.
or we just need a man, or he giving us the ching ching, you know, paying bills. So now you're allowing this person to be around, or you're even having questions about whether you should or should not let them be there. And I think that a lot of sisters are running into that, and they're not making the best decisions because they're operating out of desperation or the need to have sexual intercourse with someone. And I think that when we learn how to be more disciplined, which is, I love that word, when we learn how to be more disciplined in all things, that we can even be disciplined in our thinking.
Right.
And so how we react to certain situations, it would be easy for us to cut that off, because we always cut things off that are toxic or harmful to us and to our children.
Yes, ma'am.
And some of us believe that's all we have to choose from. Is toxic people.
Mm-hmm.
We have that idea that that's all our people produce. It's just Negroes or whatever the case may be. And never take the time to really look at their self and see, is it me that's drawing this type of person to myself? Because your energy plays a big role in
A huge role.
what you draw to you.
A huge role.
And the way that you think is the energy you put out. So, you know, we really have to, like you said, pay attention to the way that we think.
Accountability. Accountability.
Self-accountability.
A lot of us don't want to be accountable.
Right.
We want to maneuver freely through things without any consequences.
But it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. That's not how it works.
Right.
You know, it's so crazy, and I mean that literally. It's crazy when I come across people that I caught doing something red-handed,
and they still lie,
and it's harmful, and they like, what did I do? What did I do? And I'm like, for real? We're gonna have this conversation.
And they look at, and it's almost like you're talking to a child.
Exactly.
It's like they transform right before your eyes.
And then they'll use a childish adage. Well, he was doing it.
Oh Lord, I was just talking about that.
And I'm like, wait a minute, how old are you again? There's a guy that was on a property that wasn't supposed to be on the property. He had been previously banned before my presence, and they told me, hey, that guy's not to be here. So I told him and his friends, hey, y'all can't come on this property anymore. All right. But I come back and I catch him on the property. So, hey, man, don't come back on this property. All right. So I caught him like the third time. So I handled them.
Right.
I handled them. And he got upset. Man, what you do that for? I said, I told you previously 3 times not to come back here, and you keep coming back. Oh, you think I'm playing? My name ain't Parker Brothers, and this ain't Monopoly. So I put hands on him, and you know what he told me? Now, mind you, this guy is my age or older. Man, I'm gonna get my lick back.
No, he did not. He did not say that.
I said, man.
No, you gotta be kidding
he
me.
did. I said, man, I ain't heard that in 40 years, man.
I'm gonna get my lick back.
I say, for real?
That's where he was mentally. My mama always tell me, you date where you are. You date where you are.
That's right.
First the thought, then the thing. So if you thinking on a certain level, that's the type of people you're gonna attract in your life. And he was a juvenile. Like that's crazy.
That's what Nick Cannon said about R. Kelly. He said that he can't read.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, R. Kelly can't read. So he identifies with adolescence because of his limited knowledge.
Wow.
Right.
That's deep.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
but
deep.
You date where you are.
You
Exactly.
date where you
Literally.
are, for real,
Right.
mentally.
Wow.
so, you know, I'm in the Walmart Friday. Young lady standing in front of me. We're in line. These guys walk by. 3 brothers walk by, see her. She looks 14 in the face.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
To me, she looks 14 in the face. But she had a nice little shape on her.
Right.
Right? The brother see. Now, mind you, I'm giving her space. I'm not up on her.
Right.
Like she got at least a good 4 feet in front of her. The brother, hey, little mama, you got a man? You got a man? Yes, yes. Let me get your number. No, thank you. No, thank you. And she's looking at her card. Her phone. And she's not even making eye contact with them. And he just kept badgering another little dude like, yeah. I said, hey, my man. She said no. Leave her alone.
Right.
Huh? She said no, leave her alone. Who you supposed to be? I said, well, first of all, I'm a father. Second of all, I'm a man. And this is clearly a child. Third of all, I'm a police officer and I can't wait to put my foot in your butt if you don't leave this young lady alone.
Because that was harassment.
And
that's happened so much. I remember growing up as a young girl getting harassed by different men. And see, at first you think it's funny and you think it's cute until you can't go home because somebody is following you, talking about, you going to give me your number? Well, F you then, B. You know what I mean? And we run into that a lot. And it's like nobody is standing up. There's not enough JC Shegogs in the world that are going to step in and stand up and say, hey, leave her alone. Allow this child to be able to move about freely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without all the cat calling.
Exactly, because you can see she was a youngster. And the fact that not only that, but they are causing harm to women who refuse their advances.
Oh, yeah, they get real mad.
They want to fight them. In Memphis, they had a case where the guy shot at the lady and hit the child in the back seat because she wouldn't submit to his advances.
Yes.
They call them all kind of B's and H's and, oh, you ain't all that, you ain't all that. And it just need to be a call out that any man who witnessed that put a period at that dude's at the end of his sentence. You know, because we're not understanding a polite no and no thank you. We're not understanding get out of my face, leave me alone. You know, the sister earlier said, I'm not violent. But I am. Matter of fact, I am good at violence. And I believe that just like talking is communication, violence is a type of communication if applied correctly.
Right, it's all messages.
Right. If you didn't hear what I said,
you'll get
you
the
gonna
message.
You'll feel what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I learned that early because my mom used to tell me, don't touch that curling iron, it's hot. But I still had to touch it just to see it was hot. So sometimes they need to get their tail whipped just to understand no means no.
But we need men in the community that's willing to go to bat for the community. You know, because growing up, I hated bullies. You know, I was that guy. You know, that nobody, they would bother me, but I would, you know, ease my way away, catch them by themselves.
That's me.
And now we don't have a crowd. Now what?
One by one. That's how I did it. Always.
But now that's what we need. You know, that same energy and intensity and tenacity that our young brothers in these gangs, we can transform that into a group of young brothers who are security minded, protection minded, who don't mind. You know, there's a saying by Winston Churchill that says that good people sleep peacefully knowing that there are men out there willing to do harm on their behalf. You know, and that is an office that has been ignored in our community.
Oh yeah.
We have fulfilled every other office
Mhm.
except for the warrior, not the soldier. Anybody can be a soldier. All you gotta do is follow instructions.
Right. Uh-huh.
It takes heart to be a warrior.
It does.
Mhm.
And wasn't that what the street gangs, those principles, the street gangs were originally founded
Originally.
upon?
Originally.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because when I look at some of the old lit from that I've seen from different brothers, I'm like, man, if y'all follow this,
You'd be the perfect citizen.
perfect.